Turkey season to me means crappie season.
Time for the Angler Within podcast with Roy Bilby.
It's been a little while, JD.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. We made this pact to each other. We weren't even going to acknowledge if we went a couple weeks without an episode, but on this one we can, because basically my bad. I haven't been sleeping due to my injury, and we recorded an episode last week. Neither of us were all that happy with it. Neither of us were all that excited about what we had done.
No, we covered a bunch, but it wasn't our usual standard, in our opinion.
No, we want to keep all of you happy.
We don't want to put anything out that's subpar.
No junk allowed. So speaking of no junk allowed, let's get right to it.
Okay.
This past Monday, I called you, Roy. I FaceTimed you.
Oh yeah.
You were on the water.
Of course I was.
And
why wouldn't I be?
I was in the showroom over at Brent's and decided to do a thing, which of course you were supportive in this decision that I made.
Oh, well, I was a little surprised at first, but then the way with what you ended up with.
The direction that it went was this. What I wanted originally was to get in some electronics this year. I want to put some electronics on the boat. And then I saw the what's the new spot lock, the Tarova. That thing looked awesome. I priced out having that put on my boat. It was expensive, very expensive.
They're pricey.
They're pricey. And so for what it would have cost to put the Tarova onto my Old Town, I was able to trade in the Old Town, pay what it would have cost for the motor, and I came out with a Jackson NAR 13-foot 9-inch platform, and it's 37 inches wide.
That's wide.
140 pounds with the pedal in it.
Yeah.
But that's not even all this thing had. So if we're talking electronics, it has a Hook Reveal 7 triple shot.
Okay, that's a Lowrance unit.
Yep, Lowrance is on there. A Lowrance Hook 7 triple shot, which is a not entry level piece of electronics. That thing's got side scan, sonar, and what's the other one? Help me out, Roy.
Down imaging?
Yep, and down imaging. It's got all three. Yep. So that was awesome. And then
good detail too.
Yeah, which I was looking at the Garmin Striker. So this is on there. That would have been that's an upgrade from what the Striker would have been. And the motor on this son of gun is the Torqeedo motor, which has I have a throttle right next to the seat. I have a throttle now, like it's a boat, and
get that kayak on plane.
Exactly. I'm excited to get out there and use it though, and so many extras. I mean, extra propellers, and it's got storage for rods in the boat.
It's got 3 rod storage on the sides, just like you would have on the passenger side of a bass boat. I've never seen that on a kayak before.
So it's got extras galore, plus all the options. I mean, the whole thing. I would say that I got about $7,000 worth of boat for less than half that. Worked out pretty well. So
I'm holding you back now.
No, except for my knee. So except for my knee.
Right. But one of these days.
This is the worst part of the whole thing. I can't even use it.
I know.
That's the worst part of the whole thing, and I'm going crazy. So speaking of not being able to use my boat, knee update. I had my MRI yesterday. No results yet. I went fishing with Sean today from shore, and I wrapped my knee before
You're wearing a brace, right?
I'm wearing a brace, and I wrapped my knee before I went up there. However, for the first time in about 2 weeks, the kneecap slid again.
Oh,
while I was up there, it went about halfway over.
Oh,
and I was able to flex my my kneecap so it would pop back in. So
How painful is that?
that one wasn't painful. That one just kind of that one was just weird. But I felt it going. It was it's a very slow motion. It's a slow motion thing. It doesn't go quick. It just started to go. So
and you're like, oh, here it goes.
Well, I was waiting for the pain, and it didn't happen. And I was able to put having it wrapped, it popped it back in. It was about halfway out and it went back in again. But my knee did swell up after that happened, and it limited my mobility the rest of the time. It was uneven grass. I was standing on the edge of a root. All I did was put weight on my heel to make it do that.
But it was uneven.
It was uneven ground, yeah.
And
so
that changes things.
But we did catch 10, 5 apiece. It was bait caster versus bamboo fly rod. And
oh, wow.
Sean got the biggest fish with what's 1.97 kilograms? Kilograms to pounds. 4.34 pounds.
Cool. That sounds better than 1.97.
Yes.
Kilograms are stupid.
It was a good sized fish. I think I beat him by a little. Well, he got the biggest one, but I had a bunch of nice ones in a row before that. Used a slobber knocker. That was one that performed. Got 2 on a Senko and 2 on a. It was a swim bait with nothing else on it. I was just throwing like a naked swim bait out there. It was short, like a 3.5 inch. Okay. Nothing crazy. But they're in close to the shore. Most of the strikes were like 3 feet from shore when they were hitting.
Yeah, they're in shallow to forage.
They were there.
Yeah, cool. Because there's no real deep spots from the shore.
The swimming area.
Okay,
has got like 6 feet, but that's it. That's about all there is out there.
Because there's some good deep holes out there, and then farther down the lake, it drops right off.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done good there with crankbaits. Consistent 3-pound fish. Many, many years ago. We need to do a recent update.
We need to go.
There's crappie in there, and I gotta check that out.
So if you were to walk out tomorrow morning, Roy, and go for something, which you might even be doing for a while, you're probably going turkey hunting. Nope. So tomorrow's Sunday. You're going to church.
We leave at 10, so I got almost 5 good hours of turkey hunting before that. So this is what we wanted to talk about in this episode: is what to do for largemouth and smallmouth right now. And now this is going to depend, of course, on what type of body of water you're going to. Like if I was going to my smallmouth spot in the creeks and rivers right now, because we're having rain, they're going to be coming up. Clarity has not been bad, but it's going to be trashed because we got like 5 days of rain coming. And again, in the last time I was there, the water was flirting with 50 in the creek, and that was a week and a half ago. So now it's probably up into the 50s. This rain is going to cool it a little bit, but not that much because the ground is warm now. So it's really not going to have that much effect on the water temperature, but the clarity is going to be the main thing. So right now, if I was to go out fishing for smallmouth in my moving water areas, creeks, rivers, I'd still be throwing a jig a lot, like a tube jig or the Fat Albert, or I've been leaning heavily on the Berkeley Maxent Little General, fishing it like a Ned rig, and I'd also be throwing a Ned rig. But because the water temperature is up into the 50s, if you've got a river, you got a creek that does have good clarity, now's the time to break out like a jerk bait, soft plastic swim bait, like on a scrounger head. You're not going to work it super aggressive, but you're going to work it with a cadence, a jerking motion, snap, snap, a couple pauses. You're just not going to be working it as fast as you would in the summer because the water's only 50, 52, 53, 54 degrees, and they're a cold-blooded creature, so their metabolism is operating at that temperature. Not like it's going to be in the summer when they're at their peak of mobility and activity. But you can start using the moving baits now. I'd even throw a spinner bait in the creek or a crankbait, something like that. Top water is off the table until summer. They're just not going to do that.
But
Mayflies, Oh
They
yeah.
will hit the surface for mayflies, and there is starting to be some frog activity. We watched a largemouth hit the surface today that was very big.
But mayflies are emergents. So in the creeks and rivers, a lot of times they'll grab them as they're coming up through the water column before they ever make it to the surface.
That was my inner fly fisherman within.
Yeah, the fly fisherman within, unavoidable. On a lake, like a small lake or pond, I had some family out the last couple days, and they said like, You need to take us fishing." So I did. Couple young teenagers. They've just been dying to go out and show us how to, take us to one of your spots. We want to catch some fish. Now we only had about a 2.5 hour window by when they got here before we were all supposed to have dinner. So I mean, they had to take the basement tour, and they're like, "Are these the boats we're using?" I
And
said,
this is time coming out of your fishing time during the tour.
"Yeah."
Uh-oh.
And I said, Not today, because any place big enough to run either one of these boats here is a minimum 55-minute drive at a minimum. And that's the closest place. We're going to use up over 90% of our time getting there and coming back. So, no,
So
we're
what
not
did you?
doing that.
So where'd you go?
I took them to a small private lake that's 6 minutes from my house that's chock full of largemouth bass. And I'll tell you what, my niece's daughter and son, two wonderful young kids, one's 13, one's 15. And so luckily they didn't need a license because they didn't have them, but they didn't need them. And I took them out, I set them up. And here's the thing, the water temperature in this place was 59 degrees, almost 60, because like where you fished, it's not that big. It could fit inside that probably twice. That's the size of this lake. So it warms up a lot quicker. And it's got a very dark bottom and a lot of shallow flats. Not a lot of deep water. The deep water comprises maybe 15 to 20% of the entire fishery. And there's a lot of mid-depth water. I'm talking, 5 to maybe 8 foot. And then there's a lot of shallow flats, just a 2.5, 3 foot deep. And the largemouth in here, and there's largemouth up to and over 6 pounds. And you can catch a lot of fish when the bite is on. So given the water temp, I gave them both a spinner bait and said, throw this. I used 1/8 ounce spinner baits, and my my niece's daughter, she catches 3 bass and 3 casts,
How big?
and not super big. The first two were probably short, just short of legal size. The third one was absolutely a legal fish. And I mean, she makes a cast and starts reeling, and I see the rod load up. I said, "You got another one?" And she's grinning ear to ear. She goes, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding." I said, I can tell. And her brother has still to catch a fish.
Uh-oh.
But no, he's optimistic. He's like, "Yeah, am I doing this right?" I'm like, "Yep, you are. Just keep throwing in." And then I switched the spinner bait he was using to one that was very similar in color to the one she was using. It's white and chartreuse, always good early spring, and silver blades. Water was pretty clear, and he starts catching them. But he had this was the fun part. He was a little mortified. I told him, "No, we're good. It's fine." They don't have a lot of fishing experience, and they do when they can, but I don't. I think they'd only fished a few times. And he hooked up twice and the fish came off. He's like, "Ah, I had one, but now it's gone." I said, they're not going to hook themselves. You need to set the hook." And I said, I took the rod, I made a little lob cast, and I started retrieving. I said, "Here's how you set the hook. When you feel that fish grab it, pull back." I said, "But do not," and I've seen so many novice anglers do this. You show them how to set the hook. When they do it, they pull to set the hook, and then they point the rod right back at the fish and throw them 4 foot of slack line. I'm like, he still came off. Like, right. When you set the hook, you do that to set the hook, but also to further load the rod. And then you keep the rod back and you keep reeling that fish with the rod loaded. So you've got a shock absorber and you can play that fish. And and you can keep tension on him so he's not going to throw the lure. And the other thing that I see this a lot, and it's just from inexperience, they reel the fish right up to the rod tip, right
Mhm.
up to it, and then try to swing it in. I'm like, you're going to break the rod. You know, I always tell inexperienced anglers, look at that fish, okay? Look at the rod tip. He's not going to fit through it. So please do not try to reel him through the rod tip. He's not going to fit. So I showed him, number one, how to set the hook and keep the rod loaded. And I also said, when you reel him in, you want almost, see how long your rod is? You want almost that much line hanging down when you lift him in, because he'll come right to your hand. I mean, the first couple he reeled into the rod, he's holding the rod straight up and reaching up for it, and he can't reach the fish. I'm like, you're going to break the rod tip. Going to break the rod tip. Oh, it sounded like a
Were they using
broken.
your rods or were they using theirs?
Oh yeah, no, they didn't have any. You're
Oh,
using
no.
mine. So not that I don't have replacements.
Well, I
but
know.
you
But
hate to
still.
lose you hate to lose a family member. That's what the rods are. They're family members.
Yeah.
So the very next bite he gets, he sets the hook perfectly. But this fish bit about maybe 20 feet from the boat. So before he knew it, he had X amount of line down. So he just lifts straight up on the rod. That fish swung through the air and smacked me right in the left side of the face. I'm wearing a buff because we got a lot of sun out, and I cover up. Hit me right in the left side of the face. Big, wet, slimy fish all over my buff. And he's like, and he was mortified. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, hey, nobody ever said fishing was not a full contact sport. It is. And I said, hey, you got another fish. That's your third one. Good for you. You caught up. It's all good. And we took a lot of pictures. She ended up catching 6 largemouth and a perch, and he ended up catching 5 largemouth. So, and I caught a couple early on, just showing them what to do. And then I didn't fish because they had traveled a long ways. We had limited time. And for me, it was all about getting them on fish,
Yeah.
helping them cast and stuff like that.
What an amazing uncle you are. Great uncle or uncle?
Great uncle.
You're a
to that.
grunkle.
A grunkle.
Grunkle Roy.
Yeah.
Grunkle Roy at your service.
You got to be careful how you say that. It might sound like drunkle. Roy,
Oh,
and
no. We know you don't drink.
That's not good.
I'm a grunkle.
Man.
I'm a great uncle. I am.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't know
44.
that.
44. I'm a grunkle.
I didn't know that.
A great uncle.
Yep. I bet you are a great uncle. How's that?
You know what? I am. I'm the uncle. I'm the fun uncle. I'm the only uncle.
Oh, I can see that.
I'm a funkle. I'm a funkle. But I don't see them very often. I've got.
And you say I make up words.
Yes.
No, I hands down, you would be the fun uncle. You kidding me? Of course you would.
I'm the troublemaker uncle.
Yeah. Don't tell your parents we're doing this.
At the holidays, I was always, that was.
Oh yeah.
They looked forward to me. I loved to God rest his soul. We used to have, family dinner with all of us. And at the end of the meal, it was time for me to start messing with my dad in front of my nieces and my nephew and my sister. And I would get everyone dying laughing, and my dad would be furious, as it was going. But it was just part of the meal. Yeah. That was always, the worst arguments as a kid. I look back on my family. You probably will agree with this. The worst arguments always took place after the meal when you're still at the table. It's all about when you dismiss the table. You have to dismiss everybody. Otherwise, the longer everyone hangs around, the bigger the chance
it's going to happen.
Hey, why don't you hang back for a minute so I can talk to you? Oh, those were always the worst.
Right. I know I'm going to get it, but now I got to say, was it worth it? Did I get enough out of that? Because I'm going to get it now.
Yeah. I had a boss that he would meet you out for lunch. If he ordered coffee or dessert, you were in trouble.
Oh boy, we're going to be here a little bit longer.
Yep. That's what that was. It was never anything good. It was never anything good. And Matt had the same boss. I don't think he ever got hit with it, but I did. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah,
Well,
I can
JD,
see that.
I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
He was very southern. That guy.
But that was a small body of water, and that was right just below the 60-degree mark. Now, the bigger lakes, they're probably going to be just getting into the 50s now. And if they're clear water, it doesn't matter if you're looking for smallmouth, largemouth. Absolutely, it's time to break out the jerk baits, the blade baits. They're going to catch fish right at that 50-degree window and up from there a little bit. If you want to use stuff like spinner baits, chatter baits, swim baits and stuff like that, you may want to look for shallower, darker bottom areas where that 50-degree temperature may be near the upper point of that range, like 57, 58 degrees. And you'll find temperature differences on the larger lakes, like Otsego Lake, for an example. I mean, that's got deep. It's a two-tier fishery. It's lake trout, and it's got the cold water fish, but it's full of walleye, largemouth, smallmouth, perch. It's got some crappie, bluegill. It's got it is a two-tier fishery. So you can always find this time of year, you go along the rock ledges in the back where the water depth plunges, you can find that early 50-degree range where the jerk baits and the blade baits are really going to come into their own. But you can also go to either the south or north end of the lake where you got shallower weedy bays and some flats and stuff like that. You'll see carp cruising all over the place, and the water's warmer in there, and it's going to be a little bit warmer there. The surface temp could be that 56 to 58-degree range, and that's when you can start throwing spinner baits. If the water's off color or stained, a chatterbait is really, really good, but don't discount the swim baits. Like I said, they'll work too. Crankbaits, but throughout that 50-degree range, the jerk baits really, really come into their own. And I mean that we're just into the month of May. Walleye season is open again, and they'll hit the jerk baits. They'll absolutely hit them. I catch a fair amount of walleye on jerk baits,
On
but
the
that's
credge?
where on the what's that?
On the credge?
On the credge? I have not got out with that yet.
You haven't what?
I have not gotten out with that yet.
I may or may not leave that in.
It's
Oh, we're back. And we're back. We're back.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment. Season 2.
It's turkey season. So yeah, my mornings are taken up with that. I want to get out after walleye. I want to get out after the largemouth and smallmouth on the lakes, but I got to get a turkey first, I only get a 1-month window to do that.
How many birds can you shoot?
You can take 2, but they can't be on the same day.
You're going to have them done by the 5th.
Well, I hope. Easier said than done sometimes. I've had years when I was done by the 6th of May.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
That's not hunting every day. But I've also had turkey seasons where it took me to the last day of season to tag a bird. So, but typically I get 2 birds every May. If I don't, it's an off year. And a slow start, that's nothing unusual. So
that was my call.
It's
decent?
Not too bad, actually. Yeah, you were better in the beginning. Quit while you're ahead.
I'm actually very, very good with a box call. I went to a sportsman show. This is no lie. I went to a sportsman show in West Virginia. I walked over to a box. I knew how they worked. Yeah. And so I just messed around with it. And the people that were running the booth were like, "That you're really good at that. Like, do you hunt?" I said, "No, but I'm good with the box call. Take me out with you. I'll box call them in all day for you."
Yeah.
That'd be great. You and I sitting in a blind together.
Can you sit still enough?
No.
And
my leg's in a brace, so I can't go anywhere. And it's right on my like doctor's notes from my visit.
What? No turkey hunting?
No shooting guns.
Oh, really?
I can't shoot any firearms. It's right on there. Can't go on ladders or shoot firearms.
That's interesting that
Yeah,
that
I
would be
know.
there.
I thought it was interesting too.
The other thing I want to put out there about fishing this time of year, I mean, with the water temp hitting 50, that's when I stopped fishing for my perch, which I got 5 weeks of perch fishing in. And this year, no real big waves. The timing was off. Yeah, the spring that we had, the roller coaster of a spring that we had, where the weather was warm for one day and then cold for three, and it snowed again, and there was skim ice, and then it was warm the next day, and it just the water temperatures went up and down. It was ridiculous. And it gets to a point where the perch, they're just going to have to come in and drop those eggs. And the last day I went perch fishing, we got 47. And a lot of people go, wow, that's a lot. And in an average year, in a normal year, that's an average trip. A slow trip would be we only got 13 or 20. And a good trip was that, hey, we broke 100 today. That never happened this year. We got 47 the last trip, and I actually kept 20 out of that 47. But I've got all my perch bagged up, all in, separate servings in the freezer for my dad and I for our Monday nights. But I am heavy on perch now. So once the water hits 50, I start switching over. Now it's crappie season for me, big time. And I've been out one trip already. The water was in the low 50s, and I researched in my journal when it hit the 60s, that's when the crappie bite really turned on in this one new lake I started fishing. And I went there the other day. I caught 14 crappie, which wasn't bad. I caught like 30 fish, but I caught more crappie than anything else. Caught a handful of largemouth, perch, some bluegill, but I was using ultralight tackle for crappie. Super light jig heads so the bait stays suspended and falls really slow. So the my plastic is kept up in the water column, because crappie, with the way their eyes are positioned on their head, they don't feed, they don't pick up stuff off the bottom. If you look at them, their mouth, their jaw is upturned, and their eyes, the way they're positioned, they feed up. They always rise up to stuff. That's why so many people suspend a minnow if they're using live bait under a float, because the crappie come up to it and take it. So this is the time of year when I start fishing for crappie. Turkey season to me means crappie season, and I got to get some variety in the freezer. Plus, the 12th of May is the full moon, and the full moon in May is when the bluegill bed big time.
I've been loading
And
up on beetle spins.
yeah, they still catch them. Go out on the 12th into a shallow flat. It's going to look like the surface of the moon with little, it's going to look like somebody took a softball and punched it in the bottom all over the place and practically honeycombed the area with little round indentations. Those are bluegill beds. And you're good. They're just going to appear on May 12th, a day before, a day after. Unfortunately for me, I'm going to be in Florida for 4 days from the 9th to the 12th. I will miss the 3 days prior to the full moon and the full moon, but the 3 days after, I'm going to turkey hunt in the morning and then go out and bluegill fish in the afternoon.
Are you going to fish in Florida?
No, we're going for my nephew's wedding. He's got a great fiance, and we're looking forward. We're doing a Airbnb with my wife's brother and his wife, and we did that for my son's wedding. Had a great time, so we're going to do the same thing for our nephew's wedding. And
You didn't even cry talking about it.
oh, it's a great time. It's a
That's
great
good.
time.
That doesn't mean it's a bad time. I mean, you get happy. Sometimes you get a little choked up. I figured
Yeah.
I was waiting for it just now. It didn't happen.
No, that they're we're really good tight with our nephew. He's a great guy. He's got a great job, great personality, and we're just looking forward to going down there and hanging out with him for 4 days and watching him get married, watch him get hitched. And I don't, when I do stuff like that, I don't, if it's a family event that we're going to, I do not fish. I do not, because you have to know your limitations.
Hmm.
And if I was to start fishing, they wouldn't see me. I'd probably miss the flight home and I'd be in the doghouse. So I don't put myself in that position. And the easiest way to avoid that position is to not even entertain the possibility. So I don't. It'll be
How
great to
old?
be there.
How old is this
If I
guy? Your
if I
nephew?
was gonna uh I think I'd say 30, 32.
32. He waited.
I'm guessing. This is the firstborn of my wife's sister,
Oh, good.
my nephew Devin. He's got a great job. He travels all over the U.S. On the company's dime, working for Mercedes, teaching people how to do all the new mechanics. He's got a really sweet job.
What does she do?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't.
You should call her up. Ask her.
I don't have her number.
Get her on the
I got
phone.
his.
Get her on the phone. I think you and I should vet this out. I think I should have a chat with both of them before they tie the knot. I should ask them a few questions myself.
Oh, you want to talk to him?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's never been married.
Yeah. You could give him all kinds of advice.
I could. I'd be like, well, my first tip would be not to do this.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Oh, boy. I'm just full of jokes tonight.
Yeah. It's all good. Well, if I was to go out specifically for largemouth right now in a smaller body of water, I'd already covered the spinner baits in the shallow flats where the grass is starting to come up. That'll work good. But one thing I did not touch on is a jig and craw, a big skirted bass jig with a trailer on the back, a split tail trailer. Any of the craw imitations, anything like that. Make it, putting together a jig and pig package.
Oh, jig and pig, baby.
That is phenomenal this time of year. It's good anytime, but when the water's warming and it's in the 50s, if the fish are still sluggish, they'll still grab that bait. And you can catch some of the biggest bass of the entire year right now. They have not spawned yet, and they're feeding up for that. And a jig is a big fish bait. So if I was to put 4 rods in the boat today to go fish for largemouth in a smaller body of water, hands down, the 4 rods I would have in the boat, I'd have one with a spinner bait, one with a jig and craw, one with your Senko, because that's going to catch them, and one for a crankbait. That's what I would have on right now. Now, if I was going to a bigger body of water that's not going to be as warm, it would be the jerk bait. It would be the blade bait. I would also have the spinner bait, and I would have that jig and craw, that jig and pig. Though that's the 4 rods I would take if I was to limit myself to 4 rods. So, and if it's a small body of water, I'm probably only going to have 4 rods in the boat. 5, because I would have 2 spinnerbait rods. Because it's just hard for me to put that down.
I know.
I catch so many fish on it.
I was gonna say I've never seen you have less than 5. I don't think
Right.
ever.
I don't think you have either.
If I were to have 4 rods, that would be a joke because I would have 5.
Yeah, or more.
4 rods wouldn't even be a real scenario. It's 5 at least.
Yeah, are we really fishing, or are we just going through the motions, right?
I've seen you roll with like 6.
Yeah.
You put a bunch in.
Yeah,
but
well-
we are overdue to get out though.
Yes, we are.
Of course, I'm a little.
I know.
I'm a little
How
light
are
up.
we going to do that with your leg?
You know how we're gonna do it?
If we can figure out a way, I'm there.
I was gonna say
All
if
right.
if I could find a way to get into the boat before you put it in the water, like put it in the water with me in the boat already. But then I'm gonna be able to get down. Getting off of that would be the difficult part.
Yeah.
I'm just all kinds of. This is difficult. This
Yeah.
this has been the hardest part. Now, if I could talk one more time about my new baby, the Jackson NAR FD. That's what it's called. I've been watching videos on it on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube,
The kayak flagship.
definitely going to be taking some videos out there this spring and summer when I am able to get onto it. I'll do some GoPro vids of casting out there, and we'll put them onto our YouTube channel. 'Cause we have on there, all we have right now are just these episodes with no video. So I think season 2 is going to have some bonus stuff where you can watch it on YouTube. That'll be
We'll
good.
start
But
branching out.
But as I was starting to say, this boat has outriggers, Roy.
Oh no, for stability.
Yeah, I could dance a jig on that thing and not flip it over.
Or stand and throw a jig on it.
Could do that exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm already looking for an upgrade on the boat. I'm
Already?
seeing. Just hear
You
me
haven't
out.
even got it.
I
You
know.
haven't even used
Hasn't
it
even been in the
yet.
water yet. You know what I want for the front?
What?
A platform. Have you seen these kayaks that have the casting platforms on the
No.
front of them? Yeah, carpeted
you'd
up.
be all set.
I mean, they
Now,
make 'em.
that's a kayak I could use.
See, now it doesn't have the, you're talking 37 inches.
Yep.
Across, but if now not even. I mean, at the widest point, and then it goes to the nose. It's on the front, so they do make them. I'm gonna see if there's one for this boat. There's a hatch underneath, so obviously it would have to be the kind that you can like push up and set back down again. Something. Right. Maybe it was built custom. I have no idea, but they're out there. The options, it's just like a bass boat, but I mean, even better with the options. There's so many different things. There's so many rails on it. The tri-track rails all over this thing. I've got 2 cup holders. I'm excited to have 2 cup holders.
There's kayak series, the tournament series
Yeah.
now, and the kayaks that come to these events, they have state of the art electronics.
They got forward-facing sonar on them.
Scope. They got all kinds
Sonar.
of stuff. It's crazy.
They got sonar on them, Roy.
That's not how it's pronounced.
But we do need to get you out on a kayak this summer so you can fish from it from a day. You and I should go out together for a day on the river out here. We'll get one from Brent. You can rent one. You can rent the same one that I had before. So that could be fun. Can you handle casting from a setting position?
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to.
Well, you can stand. Just don't fall off.
Yeah, just don't fall off.
Just don't fall off.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to go out and see it. Maybe we could do a kayak trip with the pocket fisherman and the instant fisherman.
Oh, now we're talking.
Now
we're talking. Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For a future season 2 episode.
That's right.
Stay tuned.
So check out Roy's Instagram as always at all lowercase Roy Bilby. Sneak into his DMs with your fishing questions, and he will be happy to impart his knowledge upon you.
And regardless of whether you have a state-of-the-art kayak, bass boat, or simply a john boat, get out there, enjoy the spring, because the bite just gets better every day, and tap into your angler within.